Well, let's turn our focus to Uttarakhand now and get you the big news of the day. Well, there was a guard of honor for the 20 valiant Air Force, ITBP and NDRF men who died in a chopper crash while on a rescue mission. The Army Chief and the Home Minister were present at that solemn and moving ceremony. Well, Army Chief General Bikram Singh praised the synergy between all the agencies who are involved in the rescue efforts in Uttarakhand. He said, however, that 2,500 people were still stuck in Badrinath, so rescue operations are continuing. But almost 2 weeks after disaster struck in the hills of Uttarakhand, 3,000 people are still reported missing. 1,000 people are now reported to have died in this enormous tragedy. The state government, however, insists there are no reports of any epidemic in Uttarakhand so far. A team of medical personnel are in Dehradun today along with top health ministry officials to assess the requirements of survivors. Well, survivors are continuing to recount their incredible stories of nature's unforgiving fury in Uttarakhand. But tonight, we have a survival tale with a difference. A group of 5 young professionals from Delhi and Mumbai who had gone camping above the Joshimath range. They were completely unaware of the destruction that was being unleashed below. But they were caught in a blizzard themselves, stranded 5,000 meters above sea level for more than 3 days.
48 hours since we've been closed in these tents and can't get out because it's been raining and now snowing really heavily. And once you go out, you'll see how heavily it's snowing. And we're out of food, so there's no breakfast today.
Was clearly a serious weather situation, something quite out of the ordinary.
So we thought that the pre-monsoon is coming up from the plains and it's getting blocked by these high mountains and it's just showering down on us.
We were moving from base camp to Occupy Camp 1, and this must have been around the 11th of June, and that's when the weather started to get bad. And we thought it would pass and the sun would come out. That's what we hoped for, but it just got from bad to worse and bad to worse.
Fair amount of danger. I would say that we had dangerously high volumes of snow. So, I mean, we were considering the fact that we were placed perfectly, and thankfully, I mean, we can thank God for that, but we were placed in Camp 2, which was between a lower camp where there was avalanches and rockfall, and Camp 3, which was a higher camp where we would have been literally drowned in snow, because you were looking at 4, 5, 6 feet of snow in the period of one night. The fact of the matter is that reverence is the only thing you can have for the mountains. If you take a cavalier approach, then you're putting yourself in tremendous risk.
I came to these mountains as an adventurer looking for adrenaline. I have left as a pilgrim.
And we're in fact being joined now by 3 of those 5 mountaineers right here in the Left, Right and Centre studio. Akshay Singh, Siddharth Saraugi and Karan Singh, thank you very much indeed for joining us and for sharing your story with us. Now, you were actually climbing the Trishul, when disaster in a sense struck. At what point did you realize that the weather was actually turning for the worse?
I think when we were on the way to Camp 2, and we had a storm at Camp 1 and weather was still good, but from Camp 2 to Camp 3 when we went as a load ferry and taking our equipment up, and on the way back it started snowing, and we had to just get into our tents. When we reached, we were all drenched, and after that for 72 hours it just never stopped. So we were in a way just trapped in those tents for 72 hours without like a minute's respite to even go out to the loo and things like that. So that's when the weather really turned and we were badly stranded.
Now, you were actually quite high on the mountain. I mean, this is 5,000 meters above sea level. So in a sense, were you above all the landslides and avalanches that were happening, Siddharth?
I mean, avalanches and landslides were happening where we were as well, but where we were camped was a secure site. So, I mean, we had the frequency of landslides and avalanches would have been at least 1 in 5 minutes, which on a mountain is a bit frequent, but it's not unknown or unheard of. But I think the deluge that collected in the entire drainage area and landed up is what we were spared of. Although our entire route from Camp 2 to Camp 1 had been altered. It was a different topography altogether.
But did you have a sense of the kind of destruction that was sort of playing out around you?
Not at all. I mean, weather goes bad in the mountains. I mean, it's a given. And we thought that, yes, it's a bit of freakish weather, 3 continuous days, not a minute's respite. But we were also on a really high wall. We were sitting just under a high wall, and we thought the monsoons had come in early and sort of shed their load right where we were. But we had no idea what was going on down below.